All right, it's not exactly a birthday surprise that Bill O'Reilly has beef with the Biden administration. But these rumors about impeachment, Bill O'Reilly has insight and understanding. What a birthday gift indeed. There he is, Big Bill O'Reilly. You're not jumping out of a cake, but I'll take what I get. Thank you for being here.
Okay, what's on your mind, birthday boy?
The GOP seeking impeachment. Do you believe that this is a viable option? And if so, against whom?
I think more evidence is needed before the House moves to articles of impeachment, but that's what the Republicans want to do. Now, before everybody goes, oh, how heinous and all that, you have a system that's corrupt. The FBI is not investigating, as far as anybody knows, the Bidens for anything. This was an IRS investigation that brought Hunter Biden into federal court. The FBI is just not interested. Now, as you may know, Cuomo, in 1977, Congress passed the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Under that act, any elected official, any federal elected official or appointed who is found to be benefiting from a foreign government or concern in any kind of quid pro quo, Latin for this, for that way, can be charged with racketeering. But that's never going to happen under Merrick Garland, ever, in a million years. Republicans know that. So today, Cuomo, the head of the Oversight Committee, released his third, what they call memo, tracing even more money into the Biden family. And it stands now at about 30 million, perhaps more, that flowed in to the Biden family in return for nothing. So the only conclusion that fair-minded Americans can reach, the only one, is that Hunter Biden and Jim Biden, the president's brother, was selling influence. Now, Joe Biden today said, I didn't have anything to do with it. Again, he said that. But I wrote a memo, a morning memo on BillO'Reilly.com, message of the day. Anybody can access that. And I suggested that President Biden study Richard Nixon, because it was 49 years ago this week that Nixon was forced to resign, had to leave the presidency. It took more than 2 years for the press to nail Nixon. It was the press that did it. That'll never happen now because the press enables President Biden. They're not interested in the story either. So the only vehicle left to hold the Bidens accountable in this is the House Judiciary and Oversight Committee.
All right. So, first of all, this is a dead end, okay? They're not going to be able to remove him from office. The impeachment is exclusively a vote. So is the removal, even though it's supposed to have a trial. It's just votes. So how are they not exactly what they opposed with Trump and the Democrats, which is this is just political, it's just grandstanding, it won't effectuate anything. Okay.
The situation is markedly different because of the cash element, the enormous amount of money involved. So it's different than Trump making a phone call or Trump allegedly inciting something with the special counsel didn't even put in any indictment. But here's the strategy of the GOP. It's not, they know that Biden's not going to convict it in the Senate. Everybody knows that because the Democrats don't care what Joe Biden did. Even if they
like the Republicans didn't care about Trump.
Money. All right, granted. Point taken.
And you have no proof that Biden knew anything or took anything.
Well, wait a minute. Proof is in the eye of the beholder. When you hear a guy like Devin Archer say, the vice president of the United States got on the phone more than 20 times with because Devin Archer is working with Hunter Biden, clients. Come on. I mean, what are you, little Bo Peep? Okay. But you got to have proof.
You don't have the same
strategy.
But again, you're going to say this is whataboutism, but you got to remember, Bill, to people who aren't in our business and for people who aren't in the inner circles of political insider intrigue, this is exactly the same thing that Republicans said was so repugnant with Trump and the Democrats.
It's not the same thing to me.
So him making phone calls to Georgia officials and others saying, find me votes, and subverting democracy, that's not a big deal. But money is, because we don't know anybody in politics who uses their connections to make money. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.